Although he does not receive on-screen credit, Lester Cole, who adapted the novel Address Unknown for the screen, deserves credit for giving it an extra dimension. He changed the character of Griselle from Max's sister to his daughter and added a fiancé, Heinrich, to the mix. And this allows Max to retain his ingenuous naivete, while Heinrich devises the idea of murder by mail to avenge Griselle's death. Now, if movies had never learned how to talk, William Cameron Menzies may have been one of the greatest directors of all time. As a visual stylist, he was second to none. But as a director of actors, they were pretty much on their own. He didn't really elicit performances from his cast. He used them as graphic elements in a pictorial symphony, the emotion coming from the images less than the acting, not to discount the very effective performance of Paul Lucas. During the silent era, Menzies was a protege of influential art director Anton Grot. His initial claim to fame was designing the 1924 production The Thief of Baghdad, still considered one of the greatest fantasy films of all time. In 1936, Alexander Korda brought him to England to design and direct the speculative science fiction masterpiece Things to Come, written by H.G. Wells. Its amazing production values convinced David O. Selznick that Menzies was the man to help him bring Gone with the Wind to life. Menzies illustrated every shot in that movie. He designed the film's dramatic color scheme, and he directed several of its most vivid sequences, including the burning of Atlanta and Scarlett's search through the wounded Confederate soldiers. Other than Selznick, Menzies was the only member of the Gone with the Wind production team involved in every step of its creation, start to finish. And for his work, Menzies got a singular credit on the film. This production designed by William Cameron Menzies. Of course, there was no such Oscar category, so Lyle Wheeler won the Oscar for Best Art Direction. Selznick pulled a few strings, however, and Menzies was given a special one-time Oscar for use of color for the enhancement of dramatic mood. Of course, it was Menzies' production design that allowed Selznick to maintain visual continuity while using three different directors. One of those, the uncredited Sam Wood, recognized that Menzies had precisely the skills he lacked as a director. And the two formed a unique production partnership in which they were essentially co-directors. They produced a string of memorable movies, all with a sole director credit for Sam Wood. Our Town, The Devil and Miss Jones, King's Row, Pride of the Yankees, For Whom the Bell Tolls, and Ivy. Address Unknown was the only one of their collaborations on which Menzies received a directing credit. Now, despite the rave reviews Address Unknown received, Menzies showed little enthusiasm for continuing as a director. For him, the creation of the film was achieved on his drawing board. And a bit like Alfred Hitchcock, the actual shooting of the film was more a chore than a creative challenge. He did become a well-paid ghost director, brought in to figure out creative solutions to productions that had gone off the rails. As his biographer James Curtis noted, Menzies was more interested in having challenging work and doing it well than he was in getting credit for it. Now, by whatever label you apply, director, production designer, art director, William Cameron Menzies was one of the most talented and visionary creators in movie history. Well, let us know what you thought of Address Unknown on our Noir Alley Facebook page and Twitter feed. But don't bother if all you're going to say is that wasn't noir. I know that. But I wasn't about to pass up a chance to showcase the genius of William Cameron Menzies, or prove that some films from the 1940s will always be relevant. Next week, I'll be back with something from another cinema giant, Fritz Lang. It's the last picture he made in America, the 1956 release Beyond a Reasonable Doubt, starring Dana Andrews and Joan Fontaine. Until then, see you in the shadows.